125,600 minutes. But no, seriously, we have about 80 days, 4 hours, 45 minutes, and 37 seconds until our life can begin again in the start of Game of Thrones Season 8. And this means one thing: the advertising or the marketing department is going to be ramping everything up to 11. Now, I know I say this a lot in my videos, but usually around this time between now and let's say mid-March, we're going to get stuff like the episode titles, the actual trailer for the fucking season. The cast is going to start appearing on every single late night show under the sun, and most importantly, we're going to start getting clips from certain episodes. In this video, I'm going to go over a leak that was sent to me on the DM. Speaking of which, make sure you go follow me on Twitter at sir_hunch. But this person claims to have the synopsis from episode 1 and 2 of Game of Thrones Season 8. Let's discuss that, as well as my very own speculation about what we can expect from the first 2 episodes of the greatest show on Earth. But as always, these leaks are meant to be taken with a grain of salt and are more or less for entertainment purposes. But as always, here's your spoiler warning.
You're spoiling it. You're spoiling everything.
Before we get started, please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed and in. This is the most important part. Make sure every notification's turned on so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. For speculation on the first episode of Game of Thrones Season 8, we don't really have to go too far, much more than the teasers. We know that Jon Snow and Daenerys are going to arrive the first episode. It's likely going to be the first scene that we see after the actual cold opening scene, which has been confirmed that it will take place in the north, and it will be 2 children who are playing outside. This was actually confirmed by Watchers on the Wall early last year. When I found out this information, I further speculated that it will likely end with the Night King showing up and maybe killing these children. We do know that Game of Thrones does not shy away from killing children, so to have the very first scene of the last season of the greatest show on television Earth start with the death of innocents, well, that sounds right in their ballpark. Although when I heard about it initially, which led me to further speculate on it, I was like, hey, that kind of sounds boring. We do know that the opening for Season 7 was Arya Stark killing every single male in-house Frey, basically every person who was responsible for the Red Wedding. In comparison to the description we were given of the final season's opening, that kind of sounds pretty lame. In my opinion, it's likely going to be a crazy twist. Remember, we also had another cold open last season with the Night King, and we got to see all of his forces in action. We didn't get to see any of the White Giants, but they're sort of promising that we'll get to see them in the final season. This is very similar to how Cersei teased that the Golden Company were going to be bringing 20,000 men and war horses, but also elephants. What I would personally like to see for the cold opening, the very first scenes that we get to see of Season 8, would be something on the Night King, something related to his origin maybe. You guys let me know what you would like to see as the cold open for Season 8 down below in the comments section. As far as opening scenes for other characters go, I think for Cersei down in King's Landing would be showing her turmoil, maybe starting off the season with the miscarriage. We do know that at the end of Season 7, she lost everything in the form of Jaime. She does have that child, but also Cersei's had a history of causing suffering for others, so I think what they're going to show us in the final season is great suffering for her. That great suffering is going to cause her to lash out like a wounded lion. Even though the Night King has been bred up to be this end-all be-all badass villain who's likely gonna wipe the face with everyone and then sit the Iron Throne at the end, when you really break it down and you really think about it, the amount of damage that Daenerys caused with her 3 dragons, but the key thing there is in such a short period of time, the amount of damage that she caused to him lets me know that if they were going all out on an open battlefield and then you have all of her troops there, I don't really think this dude stands much of a chance. Like, obviously he's gonna kill some major characters, obviously he's gonna destroy most of Daenerys' army, but when it comes to having a plan to defeat him, well, that's easy. All you gotta do is fight him in an open field, get close to him, destroy him, and the rest of the army gets taken out. And to be honest, he's got some of the greatest heroes in all of Westerosi history fighting against him. In my opinion, he's the underdog in this battle. In particular, Jon Snow has led the defense of something insanely more difficult, like the Battle of the Bastards. Remember, he had a few thousand men versus tens of thousands of men and still was able to overcome that. Like, obviously the Army of the Vale came through and sort of saved them in the last few seconds, but Jon Snow put up an insane fight. No one else could have really done this. Daenerys has united thousands upon thousands of people. Every single person that's fighting for her is fighting for her out of love and respect, not out of forced enslavement like the Night King's army. I think the greatest threat that our heroes will actually have to face in Season 8 is going to be Cersei, and I mentioned this in my video from a few days ago, which is linked down below in the description. The tragedy and the conflict of the human heart is just something insane. Not only will Cersei be alone in the world with no one by her side that truly loves her, instead she's going to be surrounded by people who are somewhat loyal to her, she's also going to be wounded. And we all know that lonely, scared people make the best villains. I speculate that the opening scene for Cersei Lannister and for pretty much all of King's Landing is going to be Euron arriving again, but this time he's going to have the Golden Company with him, and we're likely going to see a few elephants. And now on to Jon, Daenerys, and the rest of the North. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, we sort of already know what to expect with them giving these teasers. Jon and Daenerys are going to arrive in Winterfell in likely the very first scene that we have all of them in next season. There's going to be a bit of conflict and maybe a bit of turmoil with Sansa Stark at first, but I don't think she's going to wear her heart on her sleeve. She feels comfortable speaking out in front of Jon Snow, but she's also learned since the last time she saw Jon. I don't think she's going to be quick to jump to maybe have little sly insults to Daenerys. I think she's going to play the game and make it seem as though Winterfell is yours, my grace. I did see a few people commenting online, mainly saying that you are stupid for speculating on this small line of dialogue between Sansa and Daenerys. This is just a formal greeting, and if she hadn't done this, it would be considered disrespectful. And in my opinion, well, no, that's not true. They're hinting at Sansa Stark playing the game. She's literally one of the best players who are alive right now, and we do know that the final season of Game of Thrones is not going to be just about killing the Night King. It's going to be about characters and certain people having conflicts all while playing the game. Sansa Stark will have a few games to be played with Daenerys. She's just not going to open the door for Winterfell and say, oh, it's yours, Your Grace. She's going to pretend that that's how her mindset is going to be, but she's likely going to be plotting behind the scenes. I do think Tyrion is going to be involved in some of this plotting. And just to see what will move things along forward here, in general, my theme or my speculation on what the theme will be for the first episode of Game of Thrones is likely going to be reunions, a bit of calm before the storm. Some of these characters have never been in the same scene together, so we're going to get to see a lot of new meetings as well as reunions. And then for episode 2, I predict this episode will mainly be about tying up loose ends. Episode 3 we know is guaranteed to be the Great War, so episode 2 may truly be the calm before the storm. And resolutions being settled from earlier seasons, we may get to see a little bit of background information on some of the bigger mysteries in A Song of Ice and Fire. One thing that people have to remember is that the TV show is an adaptation of the books, so the way this show is ending and the answers that it gives us to certain big mysteries and big questions in A Song of Ice and Fire may not reflect how it's actually told in the novels. See, here's another thing that's got me nervous for episode 2, other than the fact that, you know, the greatest show on earth is going to be in it. David Nutter, the man who brought you The Red Wedding, Mother's Mercy, and Dance of Dragons, is set to direct the 3 episodes next season, episode 1, 2, and 4. So in my opinion, during these episodes, during the first 2 episodes, you guys really need to keep a watch out for certain situations like the Red Wedding. And I messed up earlier. That episode was actually called The Reigns of Castamere. But what does everyone think when they hear that episode's title or hear the music to Reigns of Castamere being played? Aw shit, some Starks are about to die up in this bitch. And also with Mother's Mercy, you know, he's the one who gave Cersei the Walk of Shame and then wounded Drogon in the Pits of Daznak in Dance with Dragons. This guy likes to watch the audience bleed. But enough of my speculation aside, I feel like I could go on for hours and that would make this video way too long, so let's go ahead and jump into these leaks. Now, as always, these are to be taken with a grain of salt and are more or less for entertainment purposes, but just in case, here's a spoiler warning. So according to the synopsis, Season 8, Episode 1 will in fact be titled Rules of the Game, and the description reads as follows. Tensions mount as the North prepares for war. Cersei, to the south, meets with a powerful new ally. Jon Snow finds out an unexpected truth. Now, if these are legit, the tension that it's referring to in the North is likely going to be between Sansa and Daenerys. As far as Cersei meeting a powerful ally to the south, this could probably be the Iron Bank or maybe the Golden Company. And then Jon Snow finding out an unexpected truth, well, that sort of makes me want to call a red flag on this whole fucking thing, because there's no way they would put something that big of a spoiler in the episode description. They're basically telling us Jon Snow finds out his lineage. Now, HBO has been known to mess around with the episode descriptions a little bit in that they have leaked in the past before, but also they tend to be misleading sometimes. As far as the episode title, I think that's complete horseshit. I mean, that sounds like a 90s R&B song, the subject of which would be 2 singers going back and forth about how they shouldn't have cheated on each other. I mean, come on, rules to the game. That just doesn't really sound like anything anything really in line with any of the titles that they've made before in the past. But you guys let me know what you think about episode 1 synopsis down below in the description, as well as the title. So the episode 2 synopsis reads as follows. The episode title will be The Night King, and the description reads as Sansa weighs her options, Arya plots revenge, and mysterious origin is revealed. Oh man, those titles are terrible. The episode descriptions aren't that bad, but the titles are just no. I mean, maybe, but probably no. Although on second thought, they did have an episode last season entitled The Queen's Justice, so maybe they'll have, that ruler theme continued, and the episode titled The Night King will maybe be about his true origins. I mean, we can't only have a flashback all the way back in season 6 about how he's created. We need to know more information about him. And like I mentioned earlier, I think episode 2 is going to reveal some of the greater mysteries and also tie up some of the loose ends. One of those loose ends and greater mysteries being is where the hell is the Night King from? But the line from that description that sort of has me intrigued the most is the one that Arya plots revenge. Now, Arya last season decided between going down to King's Landing to attempt to kill Cersei and then going to Winterfell because she thought Jon Snow was there and she wanted to be reunited with her family. She made the decision to go to Winterfell. Game of Thrones likes to do this thing where they present a character with a very similar option to something they've had in their past and then they take a different outcome. Arya's had the option of going back home sooner. Instead of going north to the Wall, she decided to go south to Bravo. So maybe we're going to have a similar situation like that next season, where since she decided in season 7 to go to Winterfell, maybe she'll be offered that opportunity again, and this time she'll make the decision to go take care of her revenge. That's why that line sort of intrigues me a little bit. Now, a few days ago, I did a video where I talked about what I think is in the depths of the Crypts of Winterfell. I also brought up a leaker who got the entirety of the Crypts of Winterfell teaser. I brought up some information that they had sent to me before that teaser had actually came out, and in it I just sort of mentioned the idea of what Bran will be doing in the end game, and I also said that there's a little bit more to this that sort of adds to that video. So before I say this next part, make sure you check the link down below in the description and go and watch that video so that way this makes more sense. So according to that leaker, Bran will have a flashback scene involving the Night King. We find out that he was a bastard of a Stark Lord just like Jon Snow. He ends up joining the Night's Watch. While ranging north of the Wall, he ends up getting kidnapped by the Children of the Forest. They then turn him into the Night King. The scene ends with his eyes turning blue, and then he looks directly at Bran and whispers something. Now, when you put that in context with what I mentioned in that video, this guy is sort of hinting at the fact that Bran is not the Night King, but he's sort of like the answer to the Night King. So the Night King exists and Bran exists now. Both of them are not equal. They're not one and of the same. The Night King has vastly amounts more power than Bran Stark. So what Bran discovers in this flashback is that in order for the Night King to truly be defeated and for there to not just be another Night King, is that Bran has to be destroyed with him. That way they can have the balance between ice and fire. One thing that I don't really understand from this person's leaks is that how is Bran supposed to be representative of fire? He's a Stark from the north, and as far as we can tell, the north and the Starks have been associated with ice magic and the old gods. Same with the Night King, since they were created by the Children of the Forest. How in the hell is there going to be a balance if they're both the same thing? I don't know. You guys let me know down below what you think in the comment section. Alright, I want to thank you all so much. If you could please slap a like on this video, as the like goal is going to be 1,420. Also, make sure you're subscribed, and then, most important part, make sure you have your notifications turned on, so that way you get alerted every single time I drop a Game of Thrones video throughout this long night. Super special shout out to every single member of my Patreon family over on patreon.com/SirHuntsReviews, and a super special thank you to every single person watching this video. My name's Mark, and this has been Sir Hunt's Reviews.